Thank you. Let me now bring in co-founder of Market Rebellion, Pete Najarian. Pete, good morning to you. Just picking up where Alicia left off there, economists and analysts seem to believe the rates will remain unchanged. Are you on the same page with that?
Absolutely. She's exactly right. Everything that we are seeing, all the numbers that add up to the fact that I think that they're going to pause again. We did have those 3 consecutive cuts, like she was just mentioning, and that was a big deal, and that was something that waited till the end of the year. I think the problem here is that the president just is seeing things completely different than the Fed chair, and I think that's been this back and forth, and are we going to get cuts and all the rest? I would say that Chair Powell, not only are we going to have the pause, but the most interesting part always is the back and forth afterwards, the conversation of what his opinions are and what the Fed's opinions are. And I think that's where the commentary is going to be very interesting. And I think the president will be listening very close to that as well. But, you know, there's still this deal going on with the president and suing.
The drama.
Well. So,
I mean, it's just been drama for so long now. Today's announcement comes as the Supreme Court decides if Fed Governor Lisa Cook can keep her job. Powell now faces the DOJ investigation. What's the likelihood he brings up any of that, during the Q&A portion of the press conference today?
Well, that's where it gets always so interesting, Markie. I mean, that's where everything always seems to happen is when the Fed chair gets up there in front and then starts to talk. And the problem is he doesn't stop talking when he maybe should. And he gives up too much information, too much of the commentary. And I think that's where the president really gets the most frustrated, is listening to that part. And that's something that Chair Powell he does his very best to try to stop, but oftentimes he just continues to go on and on. And if he would stop a little bit earlier and give the questions out there for the crowd, then I think things would probably go more smooth. But unfortunately, that's not been what he's been doing. And basically the blueprint is he gets up there, he basically pauses, and then all of a sudden he gives everybody a far more than the president would like to hear about. And I think that's the problem that we're seeing.
And we even saw the president, last week in Davos, double down on wanting to replace him. And he's expected to name Powell's replacement any day now. Top contenders that we have heard include Fed Governor Chris Waller, former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh, BlackRock CIO Rick Rieder. Do any of those candidates surprise you, and any one of them that stands out to you as possibly being the best person for the job moving forward?
It seems to me that the president seems to lean towards Warsh. It seems, but that could change. And I think Rick Rieder, I think all 3 are very qualified to be in that position. It's just a matter of which one he selects or gets selected, I should say. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But I would think that everywhere that I look, it seems that Warsh is sort of the front runner right now. But things do change, and obviously the president is a gentleman who does change his mind.
Has surprises up his sleeve. Yeah. Pete Najarian, I got to end it there, but thank you so much as always. I hope to have you back on soon. It's been a while.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, you got it.